Attention, all of my elevated content seekers. We Believe Digital is designed to inspire. Whether it's music, news, entertainment, We Believe Digital has the content that you don't want to miss. We're bringing you the best in news, entertainment, sports, inspiration, and so much more. Not only are we designed to inspire, but you can advertise with us and reach your target audience now. Got something that you believe in? Well, we believe in you, and we're offering you the opportunity to become a podcaster at We Believe Digital Studios. To become a want to know more? You can contact us at www.webelievedigital.com. And while you're at it, be sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Roku at We Believe Digital.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense Jackson. You gotta slow down.
Welcome to day 5, as you can tell, of Make It Make Sense Jackson, right?
Day 5, episode 6 of the week.
Day 5. Excuse me, day 5, episode 6.
Yeah. I am your host, Keon Perry, aka Young Man, aka Mr. Jackson, aka Keon Perry Jr., along with my co-host
Tariq Abdul Tawab.
And like always, on how we set this thing off, you know how we do.
I didn't have an AK. I give a shout out to Fred Chambers. My AK would be Mr. Walk Off. That's what I now. Since that tickled him, man. Shout out Fred, whistleblower. Yeah. My new nickname just for the day would be Mr. Walk Off on people that don't respect us. How about that? Just for the day, Mr. Jackson and Mr. Walk Off on folks that don't respect us.
You talking Ross Adams?
Yeah. I was doing a shout out to the whistleblower Fred Chambers. He was chuckling at that, and he's often got cameras in folks' face and making sure that he keeps it transparent and exposes what's happening out there. So the fact that he found it funny, I found that funny. Another, someone that's out there, whether it's Benny Thompson, whether it's Michael Guest, who's putting folks on camera and asking them the tough questions. And that's why shout out to Fred Chambers, shout out to the whistleblower, shout out to any movement who's intent on letting the people see what's happening. I don't care how you feel about how people present things, me included. You may not like the way I present things. That's fine. The information is what we're talking about. We're in a state of Mississippi where African Americans specifically have been marginalized and oppressed through hiding information and ensuring education doesn't get to them. So I respect a billion percent any of our peers that are disseminating information to our people well over somebody that puts on a nice suit and tie but doesn't tell us anything on a Tuesday we didn't know on a Sunday before that. You bringing nothing new to the table, but you mad because someone else is blowing the whistle while they're providing new information. Well, how about you show us what it looks like to provide new information in a suit and tie? We'll let that go. Otherwise, keep blowing that whistle, my brother. But yeah, day 6. Well, I like the way you said that. Day 5, show 6.
Yeah, show 6. You got to be specific about it so people won't get confused. But I was going to say, we on from 90 point because since it's the last day of our show. Our last week. How do I say that?
The last day of the week. The last day of the week. Yeah. And mind you, the young man, we've had a much busier week than just shows. So generally, that's a busy week in itself. 6 shows in 5 days, and that's our new norm. But if you all don't know, we had, the data center on Forest Avenue that we were able to ourselves and a lot of our comrades in the city, meaning you, the people, put out the red flag that Robert Ireland, the attorney formerly of Mayor John Horn's housing task team, when Blossom Apartments happened, attorney Robert Ireland is representing Sexum, who is trying to build or change the zoning to bring in a data center on Forest Avenue. Thankfully, once the public found out, a lot of you all showed up and showed out and let the elected officials know that this is not a decision you're going to make without our input, nor a decision that if you think you're going to make it and remain in office and feel no political pressure, you've lost your mind. Mm-hmm. At that point, Robert Ireland decided to postpone it, and to be very careful, in hopes that that energy disappears. In hopes that they're definitely not going to, they definitely didn't decide because 150 of us came out, okay, no $1 billion data center. I don't think that's what they came to the decision of. So when Robert Ireland saw everybody and said, I think my client would like a postponement. Now, at that moment, I think that, well, you were there. What did you think of just first off, what did you think of the decision to ask for a postponement? Because a lot of people showed up.
I think it was a very foresighted decision because what I mean by foresight is a lot of people after them refusing to a lot of moratorium, a lot of people are trying to double back and be like, well, this would have happened and that would have happened. Well, that's what the moratorium was for.
The moratorium was for. Absolutely. And we'll be direct. You're referencing we interviewed a lot of the people that weren't really being interviewed by other people. And one thing that I want you all to remember is I know that a journalist, right? We are, when folks tell us you're not journalists, we accept that because guess what? They're not. Folks have gone to school. You've done things of that nature. We disseminate accurate, verified information to our community. Yeah. You can call that whatever you like. We're okay with being told we're not journalists because that's not what we woke up to try to be. Having said that, sometimes other journalists like WAPT and WLPT, in this case, we were talking to Ross, get mad because we're doing a job that's better than that which they're necessarily doing. Mm-hmm. So before we play this clip, if you go on our website, and I'm not going to play both, but if you go on our website and you'll see that when Robert Ireland, who was previously on Senator Horns, this is a much difficult one. No, you good here because this one's harder to find. But when he was previously on Senator Horns' housing task team, nobody brought that up from the media. So I want you to remember that the 4 core principles of journalism in the United States of America, legally you're not held to anything, but just like the Hippocratic Oath tells doctors to do no harm, the journalist's duty is to seek truth, report it fairly, minimize harm, and remain accountable to the public. Seek truth and report it, minimize harm, act independently, and be accountable and transparent. Now, these are voluntary things that they do. But let's go ahead and watch the interview that actually took place that a lot of you all unfortunately didn't get to see because that independent and minimizing harm just wasn't at the forefront. But this is the end. And before you go, let me foresight this because some people didn't hear yesterday's show. So after a very peaceful meeting and hearing, to be honest, people chanted, we don't want the data centers, no violence, no one felt threatened. Somebody made an implication, Brian Grizzell in the city council, that there were violent, veiled threats made, when in fact, you'll hear exactly what happened.
Yes, good afternoon, Jackson, in Mississippi. My name is Tariq Abdul Tawab, T-A-R-I-Q, last name Abdul Tawab, A-B-D.
They're going to have a malfunction issue, so if you go maybe about halfway through, you're going to see us kind of joking, and then you'll see if we start see the mic starts messing up. If you kind of fast forward maybe halfway through it, I think we pick it back up.
Make it make sense, Jackson.
Right.
Okay.
That's fine. You can rock it right from there. They're going to go. You can see how cheerful everything was with this dangerous man and violent man. Wasn't violent when we were having that conversation. We're drinking water. Everything's fine. I know you all didn't see this interview come out at all unless you watched our page or the other people that reposted it. But as you can see, there was nothing about the interview when you talk about seeking truth and reporting it, minimizing harm, acting independently, be accountable and transparent. There's nothing about this interview except the fact that he didn't get to ask some questions he wanted to that would have stopped this from being aired.
Firebombings, politicians that were signing non-disclosure agreements, and we were pulling that together with the violence that has surrounded African Americans here in Jackson, Mississippi. Anytime we've stood up against something like data centers, so what we're missing from those quite a few of them were, I said clearly, not only do we not advocate violence, this is how we pressure our politicians. We go up to LaShia Brown Thomas, I said directly, and we say to her, why are you removing the moratorium? We go to Vernon Hartley and Parkinson and we say to them, why are you? So when you look at that, which I hope that we have ethics in journalism that tells the whole story, not just the part of the story that caters to those in power. But I told the people exactly how to pressure our people. You speak to them and you ask the pertinent questions that uncover what you need to either make them make your decision or make them not make your decision. Now, let me finish this. Let me finish this, sir. What is violent? What is violent is Kevin Parkinson, Vernon Hartley, LaShia Brown Thomas, and Ashby Foote voting to remove a moratorium against data centers for a simple 183 days that would have given us time to see the dangers to this community. And let me be frank with you, sir. I think most of them, and you as a reporter, know that the tide in Mississippi from up the street to Ridgeland to Canton is the folks don't want data centers. So what I think is violent and intimidating is to line the street up with police. And I think Chief Bradley would have had a problem with this. To line the street
I just sent you the second one, my brother.
While I'm covering a story to bring information to African Americans in Mississippi who have traditionally been starved for information. There was no board in my hand. This was no protest. I was covering for Make It Make Sense Media a story that we started, that we initiated. And the police lined the street, and I know Chief Brackney, with her background in not just in funding police systems, but in saying they need to be torn down and built back up. I hope she didn't authorize those police officers to line up while I cover the journalistic stories right along with my journalistic peers. Now, Lashia Brown, let me finish, sir. Lashia Brown Thompson, I promise I'm almost done. Lashia Brown Thomas was a member of the police department. So the question Jackson has to ask is, did those police show up at the behest of Police Chief Brackney? Or did they show up at the behest of that? We will not, let me finish this, we will not die quietly. We will no longer sit by while decisions are made that affect us. And let me tell you something, it's quite insulting that a black city council would try to stir up accusations of me being violent, but I'm simply saying, let's talk to them at Iron Horse Grill. Let's talk to them in those places. Let me finish. It's sad that they would do this. So I just hope that ethics commissions watch this, and I hope that this news station reports as clearly on this as they did on the extras they got before. And I'm not in this radio show because I can't get in trouble here. But I appreciate the platform, and we appreciate the talk there, okay? It is how it works, sir, because I got an appointment. I appreciate you all.
Ta-ta. And now we're going to go to the next. So that is the actual full interview, you all. You can see that on our page, Make It Make Sense Jackson, JXN. Look at it as much as you want. Before that interview started, I made it very clear with Ross that I had a show with WNPR, a show that we get a contract with, that it has to happen at this time, so I had a hard stop. Unfortunately, he and the young man that were there had some malfunctions with their microphones, and what was supposed to be a 2 to 3 minute interview left him without time to ask any additional questions. When he contacted me, and I've got the message, sir, he said he wanted to clear up the statements about whether or not any violence was implied on our part when we discussed what was happening with the city councils everywhere as it pertained to the data centers. We cleared it up very quickly with Ross. Now, you've got to ask yourself whether we've got a black man as a news journalist in Mississippi that's making it better. These are the questions that are starting to change, and this is what we're changing. You're telling us it's our vote. We need to vote. Okay, good. Let's look at where voting apathy comes from. The young man and I go to ask Vernon Hartley some simple questions, and we see where the breakdown happens with Mr. Hartley, right? Now we have news people. Now the news people are there, so at least you believe, okay, well, at least I know what's happening. If I'm a black person, I live in Madison, I live in Ridgeland, I'm not right there in Jackson, I may not understand what's happening. I may be further out in the state, heaven forbid, where I may be in Richland, I may be in the Delta. I may not be able to talk to somebody today, so I need to hear what's happening. Well, at least we've got a black newscaster. See, we're crumbling down this last 55, 60 years of we've got a black person that represents us, so we're good. But maybe we're not. And we owe it to our children to put the right person in office. So now we believe, well, at least we've got WAPT, we got Ross, so we know at least if a young black man speaks eloquently and he simply says, well, look at the history of the Mississippi. There's no other black man that would be in their feelings to the point where they wouldn't let that out and let this man be looked at as a violent man, when in fact, as you all just saw, I gave a very eloquent interview. We just ran into a time wall. Now, let's play now. You may say, well, maybe Ross just wanted to follow up with it and follow up with you, right? No, sir, they went right to print. And everything I just gave you, which could have been used in here to explain clearly. Now, look at the title of this. Jackson protest against data center leads to allegations of threats. So that means after we spoke, after you saw in WAPT, I don't know if you saw it up in your room. Did Ross send it to you? After Ross heard everything that you all heard in there, this is the story that ran. Make it make sense.
A big protest against data centers in the city of Jackson. Good evening and thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Troy Johnson.
And I'm Megan West. The protest drawing fire from city council members after elected officials were allegedly threatened. 16 WAPT's Ross Adams is live. He spoke with a city council member who says protesters targeted him, Ross.
The city council president denouncing intimidation, allegations of retaliation and threats after dozens of people showed up at that planning board meeting to protest data centers. No data centers! No data centers! No data centers! The meeting inside the Hood building across from City Hall was packed with people opposed to data centers who came to the meeting after the planning board had announced it would not address an investment group's request to rezone a site on Forest Avenue in West Jackson to make it more attractive to data centers.
So Saxum would respectfully request that the planning board postpone.
When have you ever seen a police officer get involved with pulling a councilman back? They're not here for us. They're here to protect them from running their mouth too much.
Emotions ran so high, Jackson police officers were called to calm everyone down and lower the temperature. City Councilman Vernon Hartley says he was inside City Hall. Once he saw the police cars outside, he came over to see what the commotion was all about, and he says that's when protesters lashed out at him. Did you feel like someone threatened you?
No, I'm pretty tough. I didn't look. A lot of folks, they have things to say.
City Council President Brian Griselle said in an email, reckless behavior and threats cannot replace civil dialogue and responsible engagement.
Sometimes crowds can get pretty worked up, but no, I didn't feel threatened. Now, I heard later that that some folks had made some comments on Facebook that talked about, something somewhat threatening, but no.
Hartley is one of 4 council members who recently voted to table a moratorium on data centers in Jackson because he has legal concerns and he knows there's a debate brewing across the nation about this new growing industry.
We have to guarantee that the communities, the neighborhoods are going to be protected against noise, water, increased electrical bills.
Outside the city of Jackson, data centers are booming, perhaps the state's largest located at the Madison County megasite, and 3 other centers have been given the green light, including one in Clinton
I just
and
sent you
Vicksburg.
the next one, brother.
For now,
This will be
we're
the last
live
one.
at Jackson City Hall. Ross Adams,
Appreciate it.
16.
And I'm going to talk a few seconds
WAPT
while you're
News.
pulling it up. Amazing, we believe, digital team, engineering team. So now, I want to pause before this next part. Listen very carefully. First, you saw no part of the other interview. I gave that interview for that. Now, listen to what he said.
We
He said
understand
the
that
police were called because they were unruly,
the
but there was
escaped
no one behind him.
detainee has been captured.
It's just extra right there. You said the police were called because people were unruly. No one was behind him. He then said some protesters came up to him. We're going to show you the interview of the angry protesters right here that came up to him. They weren't protesting at all. They were covering a story for We Believe, for you, our audience. And hold on one moment. I'm sorry, I didn't hit send, young brother. I just hit send on there. So we were covering a story that we broke here. Wait a minute, we weren't the only ones that broke it. Excuse me. But these are the lot. When folks can say this, kid, this is what peeing down your back and telling you it's raining is. Hartley feels comfortable saying, I got to post bias because they don't think we're technological enough that we were going live at the same time. Not sure. But the interview, we take this very seriously. This young man prepared for a year, if not longer, to be able to go out there and interview people at a certain level that he felt was acceptable for people in his city. So at a certain point, KP wouldn't even tell you he was on a radio show. He's a perfect man. I want to be a certain way before you even watch this. I would be having him like, I know everybody's watching, KP. We're taking off. People are masters of their art, and you think they just show up. So everything that we did with the young man, we show up and we do this. And here's the interview that we did. Now, Hartley just said some protesters ran up and acted that way towards him. Let me show you how he actually acted.
Question for you, Mr. Hartley. Did you call these officers while we were talking to the people? No. Okay. So can we ask you a question? 2 questions. One reason, when Dekeitha Stamps came on your show and asked you to push a rape case, which you all have now done, on the city council, why did you pull that show down? You did. One of your own people called in and asked you to put it back up. You said you would. We checked 2 seconds ago. It's still not up on your site. Can you give the people an answer to why you did that? No? Okay, that's fine. We didn't think you would. Okay, I understood that. And that's right. And the second question that makes sense to me is, why did you back the water data center? When LaShia Brown Thomas introduced tabling the ordinance, why would you take away protection with no proof that we were violating any ordinances? Why did you back Kevin and LaShia?
You're putting words in my mouth.
No, we saw your hand up. We just posted it. Why did you raise your hand and vote against the moratorium?
Because.
Okay, I didn't say anything. Go.
Okay.
We want to hear this.
Because
Time.
what we need is strict environmental control.
No, stop.
I voted.
No, Daniel, let me
I voted
so
to
we can
table it. Look, I am an.
Look who's getting angry. Look who's getting angry.
Now, this
But he
is
said
now.
we
How does
came
politics work like this?
What's
Why
going
would
on?
a
Can
police
you lie
department
in
intersect
Jackson?
with them?
Jackson is a different.
No, he's setting this up. Hold me back. He's setting up. Hold me back. I don't want to fight. He's setting up. Hold me back. I don't want to fight. He tells the cop to come get him, and then tells you to call his office, and he doesn't pick up. Let's go. That's fine. You saw what you needed to see. This is what democracy in Jackson, Mississippi looks like. Black plantation Democrats doing that.
Look at him pointing. Let me be real with y'all. Thank you, sir. Let me be real with y'all, and we'll repost that so you have it. We can leave it right there. That's a perfect view to have. Well, let me be real with you all. There was some very foul words said at this point. We could have left this alone. I didn't even have this as part of the plan to play. I didn't watch that interview before, guys. This is real time. I pulled it because I'm not going to let this young man ever. I don't care what you think about me. I know you take it to court if you want me to cease and desist something. I guarantee you, I'll bring that and I'll bring something else you didn't plan on, right? But what you're not going to do is this young man sitting with his hands in his pocket because he's really shocked. And I wish we could go back to that point where KP is sitting there looking at Vernon Hartley like, why are you acting like this? In that shot with no voice behind it, because I'm real with it. He's sitting up there looking at you. In no way does he want to fight. He's actually shocked that the person that he's been watching since he was a young boy, 20-something years old, is acting like this. Yeah, eventually he got bothered, but that wasn't his initial reaction. Was, why is this man jaw popping, mouth twitching? Like, we're up there to hurt you. He said, Mr. Hartley, can we ask you some questions, sir? That's what happened right before that scene. Now, for Vernon Hartley to have said protesters ran, no one else came up to him. I don't see anyone over there but us. For him and everybody else that was a protester was behind us or across the protesters ran up to me and were rowdy. Mr. Hartley, you got to answer to the community for that. Now we have you walk around talking about the young people are shooting and everything. Well, Mr. Hartley, when the young people walk up to you, you lied on them. And I know we were both there. I'm not trying to I'm good with you doing it. I expected you to do that, Hartley, ever since you made fun of the young man in the church when he tried to speak. I did. My grandmother taught me, and I'm old enough to have learned, I trust you to do what you're going to do. But for the young man to walk up to you and for that to be his interaction, and then you go lie on him. You didn't say Tariq Abdul-Tawwab. I would have accepted that. You don't know what you all do to cause you to get brought back up to the burner. You said they walked up to me with hostility. See, it's already a big enough problem with there being a profile that says this is hostile. I've learned how to smile through that to get my point across. I've had to do that to feed children. But you already got hostility looking him in his face when he walks out, and every other young black adolescent or young black man. So this is for the 65, 75-year-old black constituents of Mississippi. You tell me what I did wrong in that interview and in what I'm saying. Then you tell Vernon Hartley what he's doing wrong. And I'll accept that. You tell us what's happening through media, through calling in. I don't care what side you sit on. Why is this the behavior that's okay and this the behavior that's being condemned? When this young man and myself had a legitimate question, why, no matter how excited we were to finally get to ask you that question, no one cursed, no one physically, until you had a line of police waiting for us. That's the reality. You had a line of police. This is Mississippi that made Nina Simone sing Mississippi Goddamn. This is it. This part right here, where it starts with the WAPT and Ross, who calls me up and says, somebody said something about something threatening. Nobody else sees it. Do you want to give your side of it? I give my side plus another 5 minutes of great information. Ross, not only did I never, and I'm going to tell you again, let me say this statement again. I've never supported violence against any members of Jackson City Council. What I did say was, when discussing the firebombing, shootings, council members getting removed, all of this violence being related to data centers right now should make us remember the violence we have experienced in the South anytime we've stood up as African Americans for our community. I furthermore went on to say, don't you ever put that level of violence on us as a community, because what we should do is get in front of LaShia Brown Thomas, get in front of Vernon Hartley and ask them, don't be violent is what I said. Ask them, why did you do this? So I left our people. So Ross saw all of that because he said to me, I saw that on the online page. We've got to hold this accountability cannot stop. What are you in? Are you a gas tech? Huh? You looking for a leak? At what point do you say, F it, there's too many leaks and let them blow up? Feels like that's what happened to our sister right here in Jackson. Why do I feel like that? When a Texas technician comes to my house in Jackson and says, well, we're from in Texas, we would never send a different tech out for a gas leak. They so sensitive, the same tech has to go back. I've only seen this in Mississippi. Probably why that explosion happened. That came from the mouth of a technician working on gas at my house. We got to stop letting these gaps. Oh, well, you know what? That's Ross, WAPT. It's okay if he doesn't report that they weren't being violent. It's Ross, you know. No. If we're going to lose, whether I'm losing to Ross, whether we're losing as a community to Vernon Hartley getting over on us, whether we're losing to Robert Island, let's lose with the mic and the camera in their face with evidence of what they're doing so our children can win. Our ancestors did that. They told us through song. They told us through spoken word. They locked it into books. Why do you think they fought so hard for their stories to be in those books? So you would know. Their blood went so you would know what happened, so you wouldn't let this happen again. Now you got the daiquiri bar, and I'm going to use that as an example because that brother genuinely thought he had a chance. And then he found out it seemed like closer towards the end of his time with Kane Ditto as his landlord, he found that there was not an option for him to buy the land, right, or to purchase the building or to do anything more. And that's because his elders, in this case, we always say elders like Charles Tisdale, who couldn't be there to tell him, Otha Kane, who could have told him, and others like Sister Hurricane, Stephanie Parker Weaver, others that couldn't be here to tell him. It's because he didn't know that Kane Ditto, along with then CCI, which became Downtown Jackson Partners, intentionally put a vice grip type lock, 65 block lock, called a business improvement district, which was introduced by then Senator John Horn. They put that vice grip on downtown, and he stood no chance once John Horn returned to ever hold on to that land. This is the disconnect that comes between our, but we've got to ask the question today, vertical racism is at play in Mississippi, and maybe we've been looking at this wrong. Maybe we've been right, but wrong. White supremacy has done what they've done to us since we've been enslaved here. But maybe vertical racism has been maintaining it. The Klan is gone. The new Klan is who? Now you may not like hearing this. And coming off of the edge of you already threatened us with violence, maybe I shouldn't say it. But Ross, Vernon Hartley, the new White Citizens Council. This is what they look like now. DePriest couldn't have won as mayor of Jackson and done what John Horn's doing. You can't even have a citizens council anymore. The jig is up. It's been too many retractions unredacted, or redactions unredacted. So we know too much of what's happened. So now we're like, yeah, we got to keep our hands. White men, we're going to keep our hands off of any bad decisions in Mississippi right now. So we need someone else to do it. We talking 1993, 94. That's when John Horn first said, I'll do it. I'll sign this controversial business improvement district legislation. The same way LaShia Brown Thomas raised her hand in 2026 to Kevin Parkinson, the new Virgie Lindsay. And let's pause for a second. I want to give you all knowledge. So even when you're online and people say silly things in the white community, in the black community, in the Lee community, in the low community, in the Madison, Ridgeland, Plowood, Rankin, when people say things like a data center is coming, we can't afford to miss another Costco. You're talking about when David Blunt, Virgie Lindsay blocked Costco from coming here, then Bishop Crudup bought up the land that Costco would come to, the last option. You talking about when the state realized that they would come to Smith Field and levied legislation that said, if you use that park for anything other than state park reasons, we taking it. So go on and bring Costco's, Chokwe, Big Chokwe, rest in peace. Go on and bring Costco's. We're going to take it all. You talking about that Costco's? Now you got the nerve to say Downtown Jackson Partners, who Virgie Lindsay helped bring those same business improvement districts to Fondren and Belhaven. And then Virgie Lindsay, go watch 2 Cities, 1 Jackson. It's on our Facebook page, Make It Make Sense JXN. Scroll down to 2 Cities, 1 Jackson. When there was a chance that Hartley would get some of the district of Downtown Jackson Partners, there was a chance Downtown Jackson Partners would have to look to a black councilman for help. Virgie Lindsay stood up, jumped over the redistricting and wrestled it until downtown, and then she said it. Downtown Jackson Partners, to them, this is what she said to you as a city 80% plus black. Downtown Jackson Partner would rather be under one ward together. What wasn't spoken is so that they can do their hits the way they need to do them. And she said, and that's what we're going to vote for. And I hope we leave today with that vote. And they left with that vote. And that's who LaShia Brown Thomas answered the call to, Virgie Lindsay's predecessor. See, before LaShia did that, we didn't know who hurt Jackson. We didn't know that Lindsay had helped as hard as she could to stop Costco's from going. She wanted Belhaven to grow. She told them and Fondren Go ahead and put a 70-something% tax on yourselves so we could separate from the rest of Jackson. This is Virgil Lindsay. Remember when I told you that Ward 7 seat, what are the requirements? You got to be white, of course. You have to look liberal, curly hair, tattoos, and you got to always smile. Kevin Parkinson yesterday. Hey, guys. My wave was crazy, Kevin. I waved back because I'm a cordial person. My mother raised me well. I waved back, but I did a regular wave, right? Now, so Virgie Lindsay is there, and Virgie is just gouging the city and making sure Belhaven, and look at Belhaven now. That didn't start yesterday. That started when she told them to separate from the city. If you don't like the fact I'm saying, Virgie, you told them to separate from the city, you explain to them what a bid was and what it would do to that area, what you knew it would do. It would mean nobody outside of those areas could come in and develop. You see how they were shrinking Jackson? South and West Jackson, we're going to give you your city. Remember what John Horn said? We're going to get to you in a moment. This just ain't your city we talking about.
We ain't forgot about you.
What'd he say?
We ain't forgot about you, Southwest Jackson. That was Towoosa.
Yeah, Towoosa. We didn't forget about you, Southwest Jackson. We just not talking about your park yet. We talking about Belhaven. I thought this was one Jackson, one city, one aim. Remember when the previous mayor said that and how happy Horn was that was gone?
Yeah.
One city, because they wanted to erase, and it wasn't just him. A lot of them erased the 7 wards only. It's all one. Little by little, I'm locking out all these areas. So the new Virgil Lindsay comes in and hello, hello, hello. What's the first thing the new Virgil Lindsay does? Old Virgil Lindsay, CCID, Business Improvement District. Just when he gets there, Kevin just got here. Fondren, what it looked like. You all showed up. I saw y'all there. So now we can say without a shadow of a doubt, Fondren doesn't want data centers. So we already knew Ward 5 didn't want, Ward 6 didn't want data centers. Now we know Fondren doesn't want data centers. So Kevin Parkinson, just get him out of there. If that's what he's going to give you on a data center, get him out of there. So we had to stop and separate that because I don't want when people keep saying to you, we need to bring these data centers in. Remember what happened to Costco's? You think Costco's was bad. Let them bring the data centers in. This be Costco's on steroids, where all of the benefit went to Madison, Ridgeland, and the surrounding areas, and you got all the pain. A store you could look at from the top roof of your house, but couldn't even make it to because maybe the bus line ain't run there and you ain't had the car to get there. And if you did have the car, you found out Madison had license plate readers. So they was going to make sure if you came from one way, they'll pick you up. You better make sure everything's right. We know you poor folks over in Jackson can't pay every tag. We're going to make it hard for you. See, other folks want to look so good in the eyes of white people that they don't even want to say, some of us make so little money. How will we keep our tags and how will we keep all that up together? You know what you did to Jackson when you drained it of all of its resources and took everything and ran. You knew the prices for employment would stay at $9 an hour, $8 an hour. So we don't pretend it didn't happen. We recognize that it happened. But let's get back to the point at hand. The point at hand is we're talking about vertical racism today. We're asking, is the problem in the deep South, especially Mississippi, that, and we're going to answer this on the second side of the show, right? We're going to go to break, but the question we're asking is did white supremacy change from the White Citizens Council to black folk representing white supremacy in blackface? And is that how they've held the power that our people fought so hard to get from under? On the second side of this break, we'll go through it, KP and I. Make it make sense.
Oh, what a beautiful day outside. Great day to be working with the We Believe Digital Network. Oh, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I wasn't expecting you to be here yet, but since you're here, hey, welcome to the We Believe Digital Network. We make your dreams come true. We have a podcast station and a radio station that I'm about to show you. Come on inside. Okay, so now that you're inside, let me take you into the room where we make all the magic happen, right here in the We Believe Digital podcast and radio station studio itself. All right, then, y'all ready? Let's go. Hey, welcome to the behind the scenes room of the We Believe Digital podcast, where all the podcasts and engineering happens when we make all the magic happen. I am your engineer, head engineer, JB. How you doing? Hope all is well. Currently right now at the We Believe Digital Network, we have a deal going on for $99 an hour studio sessions. So don't miss out on this opportunity. Let us know if you want it. And reach out to your team and we'll build your dream. Have a good one. Oh, come on in. Hey, welcome to the behind the scenes of the We Believe Digital radio station, where everything We Believe Digital radio takes place. I am currently mixing and mastering a playlist for the radio station. Speaking of that, if you have any suggestions or even your own songs or podcasts or talk shows that you might want right here on the radio station, you can email us at webelieveplatforms@gmail.com. Hey, feel like your voice needs to be heard? Ever wanted to be on your own podcast or even be a part of one? Guess what? You now can right here at the We Believe Digital Network, but we'll make it happen. You can catch us at this email, at this location, and this phone number.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back to the second half of Make It Make Sense Jackson here at We Believe Digital Studios in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm your host, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, along with my esteemed co-host,
Keon Perry,
a.k.a. Keon Perry Jr., a.k.a. Young Man, a.k.a. Mr. Jackson, a.k.a. He's Not Hostile, Mr. Hartley. He just wanted to ask a question. We clown a little bit here. But if you're just coming back, we started talking about vertical racism. That's today's topic. Even though we don't introduce it heavy like other people do, we just slide into it, right? And we're asking the question, did white supremacy, as it graduated here in Mississippi, in its goal of oppressing Black folk for gain? We stay on what it's about, right? Because every white person wasn't practicing white supremacy here in Mississippi. A lot of poor folks in Mississippi were just trying to survive, right? As they were being used as a tool to sustain white supremacy. So when we look at white supremacy as a transition, we know that the White Citizens Council, let's just pick up with them in Indianola, right? They did a lot of damage here in Mississippi. They prided themselves as being the classy Ku Klux Klan. So that would be enough to signal to us that they were the new version of the Klan in terms of applying the pressure necessary. When Blacks were voting, they would pull away employment opportunities. They would ensure that if you were part of their employment circle or business improvement district type, that if you didn't go along with that as a white person and fire folks that were trying to vote and so forth, that you wouldn't be part of that circle of success either. Now, what we're asking today in 2026 Mississippi is vertical racism, or has vertical racism taken the place of the White Citizens Council? And this spurs from two exact incidents that we've looked at here today. And you've got to go back in the show. You can do it on our page. You can do it on We Believe Digital. Either one has the show fully. Today's show. You'll see the first thing we showed was the headline articles yesterday of the data center meeting or hearing. Robert Ireland came and asked for an extension after seeing how many of you showed up to protest the data center coming to Forest Avenue by Sexum, the company he's representing. And then, as we made mention about how serious the data centers were and how much violence is surrounding it in other places and how much violence has surrounded African Americans when we've tried to stand against the power, then conditioned our people to never use violence to get our point across to LaShia Smith Roberts and to Vernon. Then we went further to say, this is how we do it here in Jackson, Mississippi, and Make It Make Sense. We talk to our elected officials and we threaten to vote them out. We don't use violence. After saying everything of that nature, the city council decides to say, we think they were implying violence. So today we saw Ross from WAPT reach out, what's his last name? Reach out to us. Ross's last name, just to make sure. Adams, Ross Adams from WAPT reaches out to me yesterday and says, hey, listen, he implied I didn't see any violence. As a matter of fact, I heard and read the article. They said that Tariq Abdul-Tawwab intentionally said we don't use violent tactics. So he implied, which within why we had the article termed threats are implied. If you know for a fact I didn't. You know I didn't because on the live video you all get to see, I said to all of you, don't ever be that silly. Use the strongest muscle in your body, which is your brain, right? But anyways, he said, do you want a chance to speak on it and clarify? I said, well, what's the interview to do? Because Ross, some folks have told me, you can get a little slippery in that ocean. So what's the interview about? He said clearly in there, and I've got the message. The interview is to clarify whether or not, absolutely, I would love to clarify. I intend no violence. I don't want any violence. I've said on My show, I love these people, Lashia Brown included. There's very few I don't say that about because I believe at any moment they can do the right thing, say no to the Water Authority lease, and put that moratorium back on the table. So I've never talked about anyone in terms of violence. So I said to Russ, I'll be happy to. Let's do it in front of City Hall where it happened at, right? So give the people a good idea of it. So, we meet up. I tell them before we get there, hey, Ross, I've got a hard stop because I've got WLBT. I've got a lot of people waiting for that show to happen, right? It's a contractual. Radio stations waiting for it. WLBT has struggled recently, right? I take a lot of pride in being able to be on a radio station that has Black legendary status to it, has history, had been part of a civil rights movement, and help pull it up and move its spaces up. You be the judge of whether Make It Make Sense Jackson helped move 90.1 up a little bit, right? Because your thought is what counts, but you've told me what's happened, right? So I let him know we got a hard stop. Now his goal, and remember again that you've got it, when I say is this vertical racism, the 4 core principles that Ross Adams goes by and every other journalist is seek truth and report it, minimize, this is what they say, minimize harm, act independently, and be accountable and transparent. Houston, we've got a problem. Because Ross, you interviewed me before you put that story out. And I gave you an eloquent response. I would never advocate violence to any member of our city council or any other city council for that matter. What that story missed, ironically, was when I advocated anti-violence, to use words, and then gave them, as a call center manager, gave the people a script to use with Lashia Brown Thomas, if there was any thought of doing something different. Now, how is that seeking truth? And I'm just asking the question. How is leaving that interview out and then allowing Vernon Hartley to say, well, I wasn't threatened. Vernon was going to make sure he didn't get in that bus with you, Ross. He said, I wasn't threatened. And that wasn't a threat. But he said some of them were rough. What did he say for that? Yeah, you saw it with me. Your memory's better, young man. He said,
I think it was like a word similar to rough, like a lot of commotion, similar towards that type of word.
We need to hear. We don't have to because you can go back and rewind it. But look at what Vernon Hartley said earlier. He said some of the protesters, first off, the only people that came over to him were young man and I, who took our time to learn how to ask these questions because as Ross threw at us, you all aren't, when he called me with an angry tirade, he called me on the phone after. I'm not, bro, and I'm saying this being funny, but I'm a free man. I was free, man. So I don't know what you heard, but you a grown man telling me I can't leave. Look at the video. Ross was like, that's not how this works. You stay until, sir, that is how this works. Ta-ta, I got an appointment. Toodaloo, I don't know what's going on with this little man with the tight pants. That's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm about to call my wife. I don't know what's happening, but help. Something going on. But this is what journalism is. I'm supposed to be quiet. What's been happening in the last 20 years? Because WAPT can sure tell you every time a shot goes off. WLBT can tell you every time someone just got shot. But let's look at it. And let's just that part where Vernon Hartley said how we
a big protest against data centers in the city of Jackson.
We have to learn how to slow this stuff down because these people just say anything out their mouth and expect you to eat it up. This man got a mother, got family here. And you saying that was when I was speaking openly to the people. So I was very passionate there, but that's not what you're talking about.
And Vernon Hartley says he was inside City Hall. Once he saw the police cars outside, he came over to see what the commotion was all about. And he says that's when protesters lashed out at him. Did you feel like someone threatened you?
No, I'm pretty tough. I didn't look. A lot of folks, they have things to say.
City Council President Brian Grizzell said in an email, reckless behavior and threats cannot replace civil dialogue and responsible engagement.
Sometimes crowds can get pretty worked up, but no, I didn't feel threatened. Now, I heard later that that some folks had made some comments on Facebook that talked about, something somewhat threatening, but no.
Hartley is one of 4 council members who recently voted to table a moratorium on data centers in Jackson because he has legal concerns and he knows there's a debate brewing across the nation about this new growing industry.
So you saw it right there. And we'll leave it right. That's a perfect. Oh no, dude, wherever you're going is great. No, wherever you're going, I'm sure is a reason for it. That's real, and we're playing over and over again. So
you said you would. We checked 2 seconds ago. It's still not up on your site.
This is the threatening.
Can you give the people an answer to why you did that? No, okay, that's fine. We didn't think you. Okay, I understood that. And that you're right. And the second question that makes sense to me is, why did you back the water data center when LaShia Brown Thomas introduced you? Why would you take away protection with no proof that we were violating any ordinances? Why did you back Kevin and LaShia?
You're putting words in my mouth.
No, we saw your hand. Why did you raise your hand and vote against the moratorium?
Because.
Okay, I didn't say anything. Go.
Okay.
We want to hear this.
Because at times,
We got to talk about this.
what we need is strict environmental control.
No, stop.
I voted.
No, Daniel, let me talk.
I voted.
So we can.
Hey, boy. Look, I am a little.
Yeah, at least he admitted to that. Now, this is now. How does politics work like this? Why would a police department intersect with them?
Now who?
No, he's setting this up.
Now
Hold
who's
me
rowdy?
back. He's setting up. Hold me back.
Who's getting pulled away by a police officer?
He's setting up. Hold me back. I don't want to fight.
Who's getting pushed away with that? Police officer that walks him all the way back to the building.
Call his office and he does.
Look at the behavior. Look at the body language behind you.
It's fine.
It's like a prize fighter walking out of a club about to smack me in the back of
This
the
is
club.
what democracy in Jackson, Mississippi looks like. It is black plantation Democrats
He's still
doing
pointing
that.
and screaming at the young man. What did we do? So that's it, very important. We're going to move on. That's very important to point out. And we're going to talk for a moment about his responses there. But that was a lie. And I don't mind you lying. I really don't. People have said a lot of things about me in this, but some of my family reads the newspaper articles. Jackson, Jambalaya, and all the rest of them. But they call me Stretch. And people talk about me a lot. I'm fine. But Vernon Hartley, you should have never lied that this young man and I, with him being with me, approach you aggressively to give any of a young man with no legal issues. I'm the one with the legal issues over here. I'm the one with the GED. This man has a coding degree. Mr. Jackson, your city, right? I'm the one with the felon when I was 19, 20 years old. I'm the one that went to jail. I'm the one that went to juvenile. So you do that to me because I'm used to that. No matter what I've built in my life or how high I've climbed, I'm used to you doing that because I got the tag put on me and you don't shake that tag as a black man. I fully understand that. I won't go certain places ever because of what I did as a child in some people's eyes. But for you, Mr. Hartley and LaShia Brown Thomas, disgusting. Yeah. Disgusting. For you to put that tag on him. Your community needs to know that you went to white supremacy tactics for a young black Jackson male that has no background of harming his community, not one day in his life.
Let me one up you. Let's talk about more discrimination against the city of Jackson.
Got him investigating. I'm talking. Y'all in trouble. Y'all in trouble.
Saxum is acting as a speculative real estate developer, meaning that Anthony Rinaldi's firm, which is the owner of Saxum, firm is building a physical shell, power hookups, and cooling infrastructure without a publicly named tenant yet.
We don't even know who it's going to be.
So
Could be
it could possibly be Grok, ChatGPT, Gemini.
Oh, wow. Meaning we don't know what. Okay.
Now watch this. This is where the kicker comes in at, right? Okay, I named all those AI versions, right? Do y'all know that major academic studies and federal investigations have proven that almost every major AI model, including ChatGPT, Grok, Microsoft Azure systems, have shown documented racial bias against black people?
Say that, read that one more time. Slow it down for me.
Major academic studies and federal investigations have proven that almost every major AI model, including ChatGPT, Grok, Microsoft Azure systems, have shown documented racial bias against black people.
Every model has shown documented racism against black people, and we don't know. Just like he wouldn't tell us it was sexism at first. Remember?
Yeah.
This is how you do it to black people in the South. You keep the wool over their eyes until it's too late.
So yeah. So not only are you discriminating against us, and not only are you messing up our ecosystem and our water that's already messed up.
There you go. Start back
there. Now you discriminating against us and bringing it in the data center. Now nobody mentions this, right? You can't find me nobody that said that the data centers did this type of stuff to us. Everybody that wants data centers in Jackson has never said this. That they discriminate against black folks.
That's right. And then look at all these comments. You got these young guys that are popping up out of churches in Texas where they were wearing camouflage and hunting people in their backyards and full pictures of it. And then they're rapping. Then the next thing you know, they're talking about AI. You have so many plants in this city that are telling you everything good and nothing bad. The insult to your intelligence is what's beautiful because I see you housing them in them comments. Yesterday's price is not today's price. You got people that are putting people on blast to say, what did you come for? And immediately it looks funny. But you're absolutely right. The fact that we don't know what could come at all.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that, let's go right back to Lashia. And sister, what's sad is that when we said your name in a hopes to get your constituents to politically pressure you, we would never want harm on you. We're going to keep repeating that because we repeated that before you made that abysmal claim about a young black man in his 20s. I know you would never bring me to court on that. You would never. There's nothing you can do, but I know what you can do to him. I know you can pitch a look, hands in a pocket, a hoodie, he's not smiling. Now you have a look of a thug. Now, don't you ever disrespect a young man that's next to me like that in your life. And you didn't bother me at all. You're talking about an executive. I mean, if Hennepin felt enough to pay me $250,000 to run a department, it's going to be very hard for you to turn me into a threatening thug. But look who's sitting next to me. That's a clown move, Lashia. That's a clown move, Vernon Hartley. And you tried to tell the truth, and then at the end, you're going to say, well, yeah, but then they ran over to me. Who do you think they're going to look at in that picture? The man sitting up there using NAACP type speak, or the man that's sitting there with his hands in his pocket? Who were you attempting to look like there was a problem? You done bumped your damn head. You will never come after young folks around me. Not, especially not ones that got the shield of armor and you trying to paint them into something else. The same way you sat there on the city council and allowed a resolution to be introduced begging white folks to hire our babies at 14 and 15 when they should be in school learning. Make it make sense, Jackson. But let's get back to vertical racism. Well, we just were at vertical racism. Because when a black city council and a black mayor introduces a resolution begging companies to hire 14, 15, and 16-year-olds when they should be in school, when they cannot even enjoy the benefits of the job they're working to do, they cannot use any of the tuition reimbursement, they cannot use any of the insurance, they cannot use any of the dental, visual, they're not 18 yet. But this is what your best thought after 17 schools shut down under your watch, Senator Horn. You were senator then. Under your watch, that was the best you can do, is invite Kathy Northington from the Mississippi Economic Council, whose baby was Accelerate Mississippi in, and then all of a sudden, we want them to hire our babies. Make it make sense. Vertical racism. Kathy Northington, what color is she? John Horn, what color is he? Hartley, what color is he? Ross, he didn't even show the video. So now you have a young Jacksonian. I keep saying that just because at 50, if you're there, black, white, anything, you understand he's the age to be I'm 48, I have 20 years on him. Let me just leave it there. So that means he's young enough to be my child. So when I say you're doing it to him, we at this age expect a lot of this. I'm not going to complain about it. So I'm not going to sit up here and talk about what happened to me. But when you do that, what are we coming to? We need to stop everything now, Mr. Hartley. Thank you. Ms. Lashia, thank you, because you put your face on front of that. Somehow you were comfortable with 8 police officers standing lined up behind him. What if he had gotten bothered with that, or I got bothered with that? What if a bump between a police officer and him had happened? He said, hey, calm down. But they came for the wrong reason. So they're ready to put hands on. What if you had taken a young man with not one charge on his record and you caused that Ms. Lashia Brown Thomas and Mr. Vernon Hartley? Because there was no incident behind them. You saw it. The police weren't called to any disturbance. There was no disturbance. There was no disturbance. 8 police lined up behind 4 people out there, all running their video and talking to their audience about what was happening. So why did those police come? Were you trying to put us in a position where we're turning into something? That we don't need to keep talking about the data center. Houston, we got a bigger problem, vertical racism. We got to clean that up before we move forward. Because what does it matter whether we get a data center or we don't? They coming anyways. Now listen to me flip this. What does it matter if we still have vertical racism in place? What does it matter if it does or doesn't come? Let me tell you how I feel. You could take the whole war. I'll trade the whole, and I bet you everyone that was signing up with me that's been through something in Mississippi, 30, 40 years, real Mississippians. We'll trade the water system in Jackson. Throw some data centers in there too. For an exchange of us being able to work together like we used to. Take it all. Take Jackson. I'll leave with my family right now. And I mean that on my mother. We'll go to my wife at home. Like, hold on a second, Tarek. I'm born in Jackson. We'll go to Delta. We'll go wherever you want us to go. What's the trade? Give us everything that you have here. This is our city again. But black collaboration goes back to the way it was in 1919. Because it had to be. I'll trade it tomorrow. Because then this vertical racism can't list. Hartley, you couldn't do this, what you're doing, and then come home. You got to come home to us. Even Ross, remember? 1919, Ross, you couldn't do that to us. You did that to the whole city. When you and or WAPT decided not to run a full interview simply because you didn't get to ask a question, but I clarified everything I said, shame. I'm not going to say you did anything illegal, and I'm not going to say your job's mad at you. But when I read the 4 core principles of journalism, seek truth and report it, minimize harm, act independently, and be accountable and transparent, I don't think WAPT did that by not releasing my statement that I unequivocally did not ever support racism against the Jackson City Council. If a city was really unfair, shouldn't they hear that? And furthermore, I told my people not to, and this is what we should do. But if there was any concern, again, minimize harm. So if there was any concern that violent thoughts were thinking out there, and I'm saying to the people, the same voice who riled everyone up, don't do it. This is how you fight it. And I said that to you, Ross, WAPT. If your goal is to minimize harm, wouldn't you want to reproduce that? But we all sat here and watched your report, sir. Station. Didn't try to minimize harm to me. Didn't try to seek truth and report it to me. Didn't act independently to me. And that account damn sure was not accountable and transparent. And you, 13,000 of you now almost, or 12,000 of you, saw it. And I told Mr. Ross, Mr. Ross, that's how he acted, like I couldn't go nowhere. I told Ross when he left, he was like, that's not how I work. They're not going to see it. Sir, we're live like I told you when we got here. They've already seen it. Ta-ta. Got over to WLBT. I think that Ross from WAPT seems to think WLBT is not worth me getting to.
Well, he might try to say, well, you can't record me. Well, one party needs to be present too.
He needed to say that at the beginning. We were running live, as you can see, from the get-go. Yeah, you're right in the backup. You're right. Both parties. You were recording me as a recording party. First off, did you sign anything with me first? We both had cameras out looking at each other. It's a beautiful world when the rabbit got the gun. And I think that we're in a place now where we're just giving the energy that people are giving us, you all. And thinking it's not going off of nothing. Ross, you've been accused, let me just leave it here, and this is fair, by countless community members throughout Mississippi. They've said it to my ear, and we don't do none of this hearsay. I say one thing, he says another. I was talking to a member of the voting Hinds County, people that work within that department to protect our vote. Everybody knows, Ross, be careful what you say. Why I gotta be careful with this? Is vertical racism. To me, it's all I see. If a black person has to be careful what they say to a black reporter, then that reporter being black is not a flex. Say it again. If a black person, what's Ross's last name again? Adams? If a black person has to be careful with a black reporter, then that reporter being black in the Deep South is not a flex.
Ross Adams.
Anything.
The Black Excellence.
Yeah, that's what I'm at. Yeah. You see what we're getting at? That's vertical racism in play, because what is the relief we think people have in the South? I saw a sister say it under a post. Hurt my heart just that she didn't understand how things work. But she saw us out there. It was us out there, right? The people. You know, you had one voice. You had Jackson's People Assembly marching with the banners. You had Southern Poverty. You had Mississippi Votes. You had all these. You had Mississippi for a Just World. You had all these. That's where all the youth were coming from with these groups, right? And you had all of them marching in the front. NAACP was part of it. All these groups did it together, and all of them marching through. And you didn't see any mention of what the community was doing and what they wanted. You just saw it as in a powerhouse wanted something. But what I'm looking for is just what type of awards people receive, because there are a lot of awards that people could receive just by being black, right? And we're not going to take time, but there's like NA, BJ, special honors. But if you have to be careful about what you say to one of our own reporters, and if Vernon Hartley is not going to say no, if LaShia Brown Thomas is not going to say no to a data center moratorium, what is this man just read to you? ChatGPT. So every single case has been discriminatory against black communities. And we don't even have a huge amount of time or sample to look at. And Vernon Hartley and LaShia Brown Thomas both voted to remove the block. And you know how you have proof they voted to remove the block? They did it on the 19th. On the 20th, Robert Island and Sexham tried to go ahead and get their permit to bring a data center. So how is having those two black council members helping the black community?
Moratorium.
We're going to land this, and you got to start your weekend. And we know if you're going through what we're watching and what everyone's going through, you're going to need your rest, you're going to need your relaxation. And this is the time we rarely say it, but get your smiles in, get your laughs in, love on your family, because the things that are happening, we're going to need your energy. Because what you just watched today in this show called Is Vertical Racism Hurting Us as Much as the White Citizens Council hurt us then? We've walked through a paper that came out after a peaceful data center hearing, where we talked about the pluses and told people not to be violent. Brian Grizzell then released a statement that said, and I just put this right there, and I appreciate you for letting us clarify, that said, we will not allow, you all watched how that hearing went. Brian Grizzell's words were, we will not allow reckless behavior and threats cannot replace civil dialogue. This is who they're criminalizing. Can't criminalize me, sir. So this is who you're criminalizing. So Brian Grizzell, the same one who pointed at Lashia, what type of games you playing? How's it going down, Brian? You're the one who said Lashia and them, the public sees that you lifted that moratorium. So as soon as we hold him accountable, here come Brian. Oh, they're being mean to her. What type of games are you playing, Brian? So he says that. Ross calls me from WAPT. Do you want to clarify? Because I could see you didn't say anything about it. But why are you doing the running the story? In the story, I say you don't say anything about it. But do you want to clarify, hoping you'll say something violent? That's what it feels like to me.
And how dare you use the same tactics that the white people use to throw people in jail?
Shame. And Lashia Brown Thomas, you a former black police officer. Maybe it ain't always them hurting us inside that police force. So we're going to land this plane and be respectful. But this is what you saw unfolding. Let me just say this, and I appreciate you. We then showed you Vernon Hartley saying, I've never been threatened, but some protesters ran up on me and were unruly. Well, we showed you those protesters, the young man and myself. And you saw the young man with his hands in his pocket peacefully and me asking questions that he refused to answer. We saw the only unruly person that day was Vernon Hartley, as the police officer had to put hands on him and forcibly push him away from the young man and I as he was cursing us out. We could have left that alone because we never try to embarrass our city. But then you went on the news and said that this young man was rowdy. The people saw it. And I'm going to post that so you all can continue to watch it. Vertical racism. Let's make sure when we're approaching the problems that we have here in Mississippi, we're approaching the right problem, not just the sexiest one or the one that's the easiest to tackle. We're going to talk about how vertical racism is stopping the city council from saying no to the water authority. We're going to talk about how vertical racism is stopping the city council from putting the moratorium on data centers back on the table.
And remember this, the less time we have to rest, the more time we're going to be on y'all. So you might want to give us some time to rest.
That's right. Calm down a little bit. We love you, Jackson. Please jump on our Facebook page so you can see all those interviews, Vernon Hartley and others that we showed today. Continue to make it make sense and continue to back us up and be active in these posts and comments. Until next time, for my co-host and myself, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, we're out, Jackson. Make it make sense.